Hello, I am Becca. You are watching Rouge Musings. So I know that it's been a while, and it has been a while because we had a major occurrence in our lives, within my family life, and that is what I would like to talk about today. So my mom got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's large cell B-cell lymphoma right around the time I stopped shooting these videos. It felt a little funny to be putting out messages to the world about yogic philosophy while we were going through this other thing. So I stopped doing it, but I'm back now. Yay! And today's musing is called Mom and Cancer. And I want to share with you some of the things that I've noticed, some of the observations that have come from these past, I think it's about 2 months. I'm not great with timelines. The first thing I want to say is not an observation. It's just to let you know what an unbelievable rock star my mother is and how fantastic she's been. And she's so fabulous. And she's been so strong and positive. And after she got diagnosed with cancer and started chemotherapy 2 days before her second chemotherapy appointment, she fell down and broke her hip. She was outside her garage. It was dark. The dogs knocked her over, and she could have been lying in the driveway for a while because she couldn't move at all. But luckily there were kids outside a couple of houses down, so they took her in the ambulance to go to get her hip fixed. So she was in the hospital for 4 days and then in a rehab facility for 6 days, and came home. This was right before Christmas, and got the stomach flu. And you all know, right, when you get the stomach flu, I'll say when I get the stomach flu, the world is over. Like, the world is over. That is the only thing. You are consumed by the misery of the stomach flu. So add on to that, if you would be in your imagination, a broken hip so you can't get around to throw up or to poo yourself. So she really has been such a trooper, and she just keeps getting hit. And, you know, of course I adore this woman. She is the reason for all of my greatest gifts, as well as all of my greatest trials, as my mother, Lynn Byfield. And it's been really great to be closer to her. So I've honestly been over at her house in the past, since this happened, more than the 6 years before that, because of various things. We won't get into that. Perfect. So here's my first observation. I have kind of 3 observations broken down like I like to do. The first of which is walking into the cancer center for the first time. I had this observation of having previously viewed that type of place as a place for them, those other people that are not me. And walking into that cancer center for the first time, recognizing that this was not going to be the only time I was there, that this was going to be a place that we came to a fair amount, I realized just that, like, this is our place now. This is where we go now, when previously it had been a they place. And this is an interesting observation, especially in the light of yogic philosophy, because a lot of what yoga is asking of us is to get rid of that division, that we and they and I are all the same. And that's another little part of it that's interesting, especially when your mother's sick, and I know a lot of people in the world have had sick mothers. So the cancer center went from a place for them to a place for us and for we, but still the strange differentiation that it's not for me. It's not I, right? So there's this we and us and them and I. I just think it was interesting. I was like, oh, this is interesting to be part of this community now through my mom, but not necessarily through myself. And so there was still that little division that I noticed that I thought was just an interesting observation. Another observation that I've had that has been massive is how important it is in our lives to be able to communicate what we need and what we want. And my mother is not the best at this, to say the least. So that has been a big hurdle for her, certainly when my boyfriend and I, Randy and I, are over there taking care of her, and she has another woman who's been taking care of her and in the hospital. So that's a skill set that I think we should have been specifically taught when we were younger. The joke, right, is use your words, and I say that to my mom now, use your words. And I have a couple of stories about this as an example, and all of this, of course, comes from a very loving place. But one of the bouts of time we were over there, I asked incessantly, this was after she broke her hip, do you need anything, do you need anything, do you need anything, do you need anything, do you need anything? I mean, really, truly every 5 minutes. And I had just asked, I went into the kitchen, I was making myself a sandwich, and she calls from across the room, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making myself a sandwich. And she says, I could use a sandwich. And I fume inside. And then I realize, oh, what she thinks she's saying truly is, could I please have a sandwich? But how I hear it is, you're a horrible person, daughter, for not having offered to make me a sandwich. And that's just an interesting thing to realize, that how I would want her to say it is not how she says it. So she says it how she says it, and even though I know what she means, I still get my feelings hurt because I hear it in a different way than she means it. Yikes, right? Woo! So I'm really grateful for the restaurant industry, because that's who taught me this skill, that you have to be able to say, this is what I need, this is the timeline, and there's no other time. So it's not like table 32 has a woman and she's kind of a pain and she was wondering if she might be able to. That doesn't work. Anyone in the restaurant industry knows this. You have to just be like, I need a side of ketchup, or I need this cooked up, 1 temp. Communication, super clear. Thank you, the Blue Star restaurant. On top of being able to ask for what you want and what you need, which is a challenge for us, right? I mean, I think it's not easy for really anybody, and I don't claim to say that it's easy for me. The flip side of that, I think, is actually even more challenging, and that's being able to receive. And I have to say, to the community of people who are around my mother and I, you all have been magnificent, and everybody has just really extended their gratitude, wrong word, their offerings for help to visit her, cards and care packages. And I think she's learned something through that. I think she's learned how to receive support and receive attention. That's maybe not so hard for her. And receive care from a community of people. And that, I think, has been really meaningful to her. And even to receive care from us, from Randy and I and Amber, who've been taking care of her. My last realization, yes, got it, is about moments. And every day of our lives is a moment, and most of the moments that we have inside of our lives kind of go unrecognized. And I'm specifically looking at more frustrating moments or irritating moments, because they're those, and they come up for us a fair amount, which is a sideline, hilarious, because our lifestyle is so ridiculously convenient. But inside of our lifestyle of convenience, we get irritated that we're on hold for too long, or the line is too long, or the person on the other side of the transaction is rude, or they're grumpy. You guys know, I don't have to list all the things that we get irritated about in a day. But those irritations, we don't remember them. They're not memorable moments. And through this experience, that's one of the things that I've realized. When you get a scan back and it looks like it could be something, and you have to go and start to go through these tests, that's a real substantial moment. And when you get the text message, I was leaving yoga class, we had plans for the rest of the night, that says, I fell down, I think my hip is broken, I'm on my way to the emergency room. That's a different kind of moment where you're like, oh, got it. My mom has cancer, she's going through chemotherapy, and now she has a broken hip? Okay, well, I got what I'm doing. I'm gonna go to the emergency room to be with her and to see what this is about. So there's those moments that are the other kind of moments, not the moments that just land in the bucket of all your other moments, but the moments that are life-changing. And the cancer moment is obviously one of those moments. I think a lot about this with pregnancy and having children, which I have not gone through that whole affair yet, but I imagine, because obviously I've had friends who have gotten pregnant, that that moment of seeing those results, you're like, okay, my life is not going to be the same after this. Kind of regardless of how that finishes out or transpires, your life is forever changed. Death is like that as well, especially when there are deaths of people who are close to us. So it makes me realize, it makes me more grateful for the little moments, and it makes the long line or the long wait on the telephone kind of not such a big deal in the light of these really life-changing moments. So that's what I've been thinking about. I guess I could kind of say something about the medical world, but I'm not going to do that right now. I have learned a lot about that. And I just want to say to all the people who have reached out, like that night from the ER, Jules from Superfine Design came and brought me a sandwich because I wasn't going to eat, and she's just incredible. The people have really been amazing, especially in the yoga community. Thank you. Thank you. My mom says thank you. I appreciate you. And check out some other musings if you want. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.